Welcome to the Lethal Dispatch. Join Lethal Ted and Lethal Eddie to discuss all things tabletop role-playing, featuring me, Torin Grimblade, your invincible, powerful, lethal, but somehow modest spokesman for lethal fantasy games. Please hit the like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Join us on Instagram, Facebook, X, and Discord. Do it now, or I will destroy you. What? Oops, could you pretty please just subscribe? Hey, Eddie, I told you I could do it nicely. I'm a born diplomat. These mortals love me. Anyway, let's get started. Take it away, guys.
Welcome to another episode of the Lethal Dispatch. Lethal Eddie here with Lethal Ted.
Thanks for joining us. We a little bit late filming this week. Lethal Eddie decided to jump the country for us for a little bit. Just got back, and we're trying to get into this right now.
Well, I was out and saw a couple of videos pop up about something pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and we discussed it even while you were overseas. But I mean, and it is. You know, it seems Daggerheart is not going to be on Critical Role.
What in the world is that?
I don't know. I thought that was sort of the whole point, wasn't it? Is they're creating their own system, and they were going to release it to be used in their Critical Role.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you? I mean, I know beyond just creating a game, but it just doesn't seem to track very well. And it had been talked about as they were switching to Daggerheart the whole time. And then suddenly, right before they're about to start, we changed the Dungeon Master, which
they have
sort of surprised me.
18 players in the season or something like that.
Something like that. It was either 13 or 18,
13.
but there's a
Maybe
lot
it was
of
13.
players. Right. And I know they've always sort of had an influx and outflux at times, and guest players, I think. And, you know, so that seemed odd, but so they changed the Dungeon Master, and then suddenly after that, it comes out that they are going to actually change it up and not use Daggerheart. I mean, and the explanation by, I think, the producer, which is Marisha, I think I'm saying that right, was that D&D best supports the story they want to tell. What?
That makes no sense to me at all.
Well, I mean, we spent a lot of time creating a game, right? And sort of the focus of our whole idea was we create a system first, and we want it to be able to drop into any existing adventure setting world. I mean, we got Greyhawk behind us, lots of books, modules. We wanted it to fall right into those things and let you tell any story. And I wasn't aware that a system was so limited that you couldn't tell a story.
Well, I mean, was it the card play or something like that they think that it wasn't going to show
well? They got all
on
the cards you got to play. Also, you know, it's, you know, even with our system and most systems, you roll the dice and you have a specific result, whereas they have 2 dice and they're reading hope and fear. And so they have to say, I got a this plus it's with hope. And there's also a complete lack of sort of, well, and I think they've existed pretty much pre-planning a whole lot of things, right?
Yeah.
And so now when they don't even have a set order with their players,
how are they supposed to do something that's pre-set up?
Right. So then they have to have this discussion about who is going to, you know, go next and who takes the spotlight. I mean, it makes you sort of wonder if this game is even set up to tell that kind of story, or any story in the long term, because, I mean, and that's what you have to say. And I know our headline is a little bit, I guess, intense, but are we saying Daggerheart can't tell a great story? Is that what we're saying? Or at least a long-term story or a continuing story? Is this a one-shot, help me through improvisation, and that's all it can do?
Maybe.
Well, I mean, even, we spent some time going through their death mechanics, right? It's like I have an inspiration, and so I get this great final act, or I roll a dice and it might actually heal me, or I just flat say I'm not going to die, and I stay on the battlefield and become impervious while I'm laying there. I mean, I imagine that whole situation, since you have to make a decision, takes a little bit of time. I know they get to edit it, but so a player goes down, and now we have this discussion of what they're going to choose to do because they have all these different variations. It seems to me,
I think there's more to the story than what this person's saying.
Show me the money. That's it, brother, but you got to yell that shit. Show me the money. I need to feel you, Jerry. Show me the money. Jerry, you better yell. Show me the money.
well, I mean, I think that's accurate, and there's double-speak in corporations all the time. And, this has been addressed a little bit by
you don't think it's about this?
Well, I mean, I
don't think it's the money?
Money. Well, I mean, I think that question's been asked a little bit out there. I know there's some other folks that have addressed it. I know Professor DM had one, and the DM layer had a separate discussion in regard to this. And there is some question, did Wizards of the Coast pay to have them do that? Because it seems like a very difficult admission to make when you just released a game from the person who runs a show to say, oh, no, I'm going to step down. Oh, and by the way, we're not going to run this system that we just spent all this time creating and released just out of the blue. And and the answer is to say it just wasn't suited to tell this story.
It goes worse than that. On their introduction, they actually introduced 2 other podcasts that were using their game.
Right.
Online. Yeah. So they're promoting 2 other people's podcasts that are using Daggerheart. They were not, I guess Daggerheart wasn't good enough for Critical Role, I guess.
Right. For the guy who created it. I mean, it's
a little ludicrous.
I mean, every time that I look at online of what's going on in the tabletop world, I see something that just kind of blows me away. And that's really sort of what we're here to talk about in this entire show, is the kind of things that are out there that just don't make any sense. And what is being created.
The crazy part is I'm hearing that Critical Role for season 4, the viewership's down. I actually think there was a lot of people looking forward to actually seeing them play with Daggerheart.
Well, it's something new, and they wanted to see if it works. One of the things, we're working so hard to do is to get, actual play things out of our game. And that's something we're doing consistently, and we're going to be releasing more of. So you would think they would want to do that.
I would think so.
But
I mean, they're trying to promote the sales of their books, their story, right?
Well, one of the things is, I mean, the truth is it could be money, right? But I guess I could have a little more cynical role looking at that is, in the short run, this is a new shiny toy for people to look at, right? And it's changed things up a little bit, and people are very tired, as we've seen, and that's part of what we did, of static initiative orders, right? And that whole thing that makes it boring at the table. So Daggerheart has gone away of instead of having any mechanic to decide when someone can go,
everyone can just decide when they want to go.
Which sort of goes along with the world we're living in right now, is you can say anything, do anything, be anything, and that's just what you get to do. But I think there's going to be a realization to some degree that doesn't work very well long term, and is going to lead to very specific people in a game group taking over those game groups. Yeah. And it's going to be exceedingly hard on a game master to run. So I guess my cynical view is that they may realize that they may expose themselves in Critical Role, and it may be very hard to film and very hard to edit and very hard to put together in a way that makes the game very appealing.
And how do you do that with 13 players? I mean, I know they're saying that it's going to be like aren't all 13 going to be on in any one episode, but if you've got 8 players sitting there and you've got all of them competing to go at the same time, because there is no way to figure out initiative order.
I really thought that the best place for them to promote Daggerheart would be in a sort of scripted, pre-prepared way.
Which is how they do it anyway. I mean, it's not real anymore.
No, well, I don't know.
I don't think it has been for a couple.
I think there was.
I think
surprises.
It was originally. I think the edgy, part of Critical Role when it was first put online is what attracted everybody to it.
Right, and sort of, I think sort of the excitement of what was going to happen, and different things occurred. But right now, to me, I do wonder if there is some concern that it would just sort of expose the soft underbelly of what this game actually is going to give you, because
or lack thereof.
All right. Well, one of the things is I mean, that's great if you have a existing game group, people that are played together, they know each other, they're comfortable with each other. Mm-hmm. But the dynamics of this game seem like it would be very difficult to go into a game store or a convention and bring together 6 strangers who aren't comfortable with one another, who don't know each other's strengths, weaknesses, even personally, as far as speaking out and, taking their position on what they want to do, and being able to actually make that fair to all the players.
And can you imagine if they were going to try to do some type of organized play system with it? I mean, what that would look like in a room with like 15 tables all competing to try to
yeah, I mean,
run the game.
I just don't know that it's something that, I mean, I guess time will tell. I mean, all of these things we're discussing of what doesn't work is why we chose to start creating a system. But I'll tell you what, right? We're going to be running games. I'm not going to be doing a show and actual play stuff and say, wait. This story won't work with Lethal Fantasy. I think I'll use, I'll use another system.
Yeah, let's run this with Pathfinder.
Right. I got 3 years in this. We're not going to do it. We didn't build a game that you can't tell a story. So there's something bigger than just, we think it's better to tell a story with D&D, 2024.
I mean, when you and I got to a certain point of development in Lethal Fantasy, I stepped down from being a volunteer with the Pathfinder Society because I just felt like it was a conflict of interest.
Well, it is.
Well, not to mention that a lot of the mechanics in Pathfinder were kind of annoying me. The delays of the table, people all on their phones, the endless conditions. It just,
I was primarily running Hackmaster, and I ran it. I had, actually waiting list of people that wanted to play, contacted me regularly locally to play because I was really the only person running it in this area. That system has its own issues in basically a complete lack of support from the developers. I mean, what it comes down to is, they don't really provide anything new. They talk about things that are coming that never come, things that have been created that never get out. You're talking about a game that was released originally in 2010, and they have, a list of clerics that they are going to develop. And as of 2025, August 28th, that still hasn't been released. So
they said they were going to release it in 12 months or something like that.
I don't remember what the original release schedule was, but the sad thing of it is all of the lore, all of the stuff that was written for those clerics of each god.
Isn't it already written?
It's already written and has been in writing since before they released this. And so really all they do is create new spells and then release it, but they just can't push it out the door. Recently they promised to release some new modules and made a big post. They were going to be releasing this stuff starting in January. Well, it's August and none of it's hit the streets. So what I'm getting at is that there's that issue with games. There's the issue, what's going, and that's what led us to creating this game. But the last thing I'm going to do is, create a game and then say, no, we're not going to run our game. We're going to run another game. There's got to be something besides that.
We basically got pushed into a corner. I mean, look at what Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder have been going towards. I mean, can we say, let's take everything out of the political real world and bring it into the game world?
Well, I mean, that is
Absolutely ridiculous.
It's clearly what they're trying to do. And that, sort of gets into the woke versus edgy thing. And woke is probably a bad word for all this. I mean, it's sort of what is out there. But, the question is that I've seen posed is, can you even tell an edgy story anymore?
I mean, it seems like, in any of these systems out there that you have to do a 15-minute survey for each player and then go to write your adventure around the surveys versus actually just making a game and inviting players to come play.
I mean, the truth is right now the thought process is we can't offend anyone. Right. And how do you live life where you don't offend anyone? I mean, is there a person?
I can't even avoid that at work.
No, you probably can't avoid that driving to work. That's the thing, right? I mean, we all get flipped off in the road. You're like, what did I do? Right? It's unbelievable that we somehow have reached a point, in the world, but also, in gaming where we have decided no one can be offended. And we're actually sort of, reaching to look at things that don't make any sense. I mean, it's just what they're trying to do is the impossible, but they're also taking away a lot of what was really great about the games. And we're trying to, I think, almost litigate social questions within a game. And that's dangerous. Well, it's very dangerous. And it also takes away the escapism of what the game is based upon.
And let's face it, when we're sitting around the table, does anybody go around the table and say, hey, what's your political belief? Let's sit and talk about politics for the next 20 minutes before we start our game. Nobody does that.
No, I would hope not. Although, do they? I mean, maybe we're just not in that group, because the people that seem to be concerned about this, which I think is a very small minority of the world and of the gaming community, they seem to, because they read through every module, every book, and reach in to cancel things. I mean, we've canceled Dr. Seuss. We've canceled so many things that have been around forever. I mean, if you look at one of the things I did when we were talking about this, the edgy thing, number one, just sort of going back to our roots of playing games. Right. Yeah. What are some of the great adventures we played that we still think fondly back? I mean, one of the ones that, most motivated me, way back when goes back to, the Scourge of the Slave Lords, the old
Tomb of Horrors.
Right. All of those. I mean, the Scourge of the Slave Lords, absolutely, it's about slavery, which we've been told is sort of a no-no. But, the motivation that we had when we were playing that back in the day was, wow, this is a real evil we've got to get to the end of and to destroy. Because in A2, as I recall, the one where they actually reached their stockade, those slaves were being brutalized, and that was in it. Okay, so now we're canceling that, but without a real evil. What are we doing? I mean, we're going to have a dialogue about, I mean, excuse me, sir, Darth Vader, can we discuss this? I mean, is that where we're at? I mean, think of all the great movies, just as you can think of, Star Wars. I mean, he blew up Alderaan. He destroyed a whole planet, right? I mean, that's
how many billions of people got killed in that issue.
Right. So, I mean, that's, I assume, triggering to everyone to
I would
feel
think
that,
so.
Right? So he's, well, I guess.
Well, I mean, you got Superman, Mr. My parents are going to abandon me and ship me off to another planet, hopefully, so I can
for some
find
reason they couldn't go with me.
Parents,
right? Because I mean,
to raise me.
Well, Batman, right?
Parents get
murdered.
killed. Yeah.
Right in the street, right in front of him. I mean, traumatizing is that. Some of the great, shows, we've talked about, Gladiator.
The Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz. Gladiator, he's, he's made a slave. They murder his family. all of that. Spartacus, same, except it's even got more graphic, assault type issues. You talk about, and I know they revise it a little bit, but the Curse of Strahd, the vampire, right? I mean, how do you tell that story? They get a letter, to go help because an evil vampire. They get there, they find out he's dead, and not only that, the vampire is trying to make his daughter his basically concubine, or the all of those, the great stories, right? And they motivate you to beat the bad guy, and I think most players play to be the good guy, to beat the bad guy.
Yeah,
right?
and it's not just D&D and Pathfinder that have done it. I mean, the new Vampire game has basically done the same thing, where they make it so that you can't play an evil vampire. I mean, what's up with that? I mean,
right. Well, I mean, I guess that comes
what could be
from
more evil than sucking on
Twilight and all
another
that stuff.
person's blood?
But even in Twilight, right? They were the exception.
Yeah.
Right. Which made them sort of interesting. And even they had problems resisting, right? Within his little family group, there were issues with whether they could resist and hold off. Even he, when Bella was dying and he was having to resist whether he was going to bite her and kill her. And ultimately, guess what? She winds up dead.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's and whether her soul was destroyed and all this other, issue. But I mean, are they evil? I mean, and that comes down to, one of the things that they went through and they wanted to remove, when they go through this stuff. First, we had race. That had to be removed because that was offending people. How that exactly offended people, I always kind of struggled with. I know species is probably a better word, but did it really matter? Did anyone really read a thing and say, "Oh, I got to choose my race," and they were like, "Oh my God, I am so offended by that"? I mean, did that really happen?
No. I mean, I think some people say that they did it to provide additional options for people to play and that type of thing. But
right, but now they've neutered it, right? They've made it where all races,
they can be equal in strength. They can be equal in everything. I mean, I guess, a halfling and a Goliath can be equally as strong.
Well, how do you tell the story of David and Goliath then? Right. I mean, no one is allowed to be weaker because that would be offensive. I mean, it doesn't, one of the things I know they went through with Ravenloft was, the whole, they removed like savage orcs because you can't say they're savage because that would be judging. But they removed, because they were worried about people with mental illness, so they removed the reference to the word madness.
Well, are you curious at all what Dungeons and Dragons is going to do with the new Dark Sun?
Oh, there's no way.
It's going to be, I don't even know if I want to. I might throw up.
Care Bears running around. I mean, I don't know. It does. I mean, that was a brutal setting.
It was,
right, and it was awesome.
It was.
But all of that. We got to go back.
Probably not as dark as Ravenloft.
Look, they went back. And
they screwed up Spelljammer.
Well, yeah, but they did that with all the old books. They went through. If you want to buy them, even on like drive through, you get this warning that there is unacceptable content inside of these books that were not with the times or what. I mean, a lot of it was there's reference to prostitutes and ladies of the night. Some of that was all in there. I mean, I got news for folks what was going on in the Middle Ages, even in the Old West. I mean,
prostitution
we
was
really
all over
want
the place.
to ignore history, and so we want to vaporize it from all of these games. I mean, going back to the madness thing, the word madness apparently was going to be triggering for folks with mental illness. Okay?
Oh boy.
But how does a game like Call of Cthulhu exist? Right? Because isn't their whole mechanic that you slowly devolve into madness, and everything that H.P. Lovecraft ever wrote has to be absolutely unacceptable. So how does that game even exist? And I don't have a lot of experience with Call of Cthulhu, but I do know it's a slow descent to madness as you play the game.
I mean, it's not the same game if you don't have that, right?
Well, no one suffers any mental illness in Call of Cthulhu.
Well,
and they don't
what about
reference it?
what about the Wheel of Time? I mean, all the men supposedly that have
Right.
powers go crazy, right? I mean,
there's so much, that goes through all of those things. One of the things is, and we referenced a little while ago, I think it was the Sly Flourish who wrote in one of the new things about how, the goblins can't be referred to, as, the evil goblins or whatever they have to be referred to as. You have to, find out why. It was something like the male liberation group or something like that, right? I mean, it couldn't be, just that they're evil. But here's the problem with that, right? Goblins are not people, right? And goblin actually comes from a word that means devil, going back to the 14th century in Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, they were a malevolent being, mischievous and devil-like. I mean, that's what they were, right? Like this guy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is not
the goblin over your shoulder.
right? This is not a good guy. Right?
No.
Is there the room in your game for the goblin that is a good guy? I mean, that's what Drizzt was, right? Those are great stories, but it's because they're not the rule.
They're the exception to the rule,
Right,
not
and
the
it's
rule.
a very narrow exception that makes them interesting.
Well,
Otherwise-
until R.A. Salvatore wrote his most recent books, where apparently there's a whole subset of drow that separated themselves and now worship, good deities. And
right, and through all of this exploration and everything that happened in all the other books,
And nobody ever knew about them?
at all, including Lolth. Right, I mean, had no knowledge of that. Was never conveyed like, hey, you might want to go check those folks out because they're embarrassing you. I mean, none of that makes any sense. But he's jumped into, and you want to talk about, is the dollar leading this? I mean, that's what leading him to what he's writing nowadays? I mean,
I guess
there's so much of this that just does not make sense.
I agree with you on that.
And that leads us into, sort of the, this safe word, which comes from, sex, right? Basically, it comes from BDSM, right? Where they had safe words to stop if they didn't want to do something. That's where they got it from, which is just absurd, right?
Yeah.
That's how this, they reached to get a mechanic to stop, somebody from telling a story.
Well,
but
that says a lot, doesn't it?
it might, it comes back to the, what you were talking about is every game I remember running for the most part, I was I was inspired and I wrote an adventure and had a specific idea of this adventure I was going to run, or I bought an adventure years ago. I haven't really done that much lately. And I'm like, this is cool. I want to run it.
Yeah.
Right. Like the Slave Lords or Tomb of Horrors or, any of those adventures.
I mean, some that's edgy and like dark.
Right. I mean, the undead things and I mean, all of those kind of, stories, so you buy it. Right. And then you have them fill out a questionnaire at the table and they tell you that 90% of it is not acceptable to the table. And so, you edit it? You remove reference to, I mean, how do you take
How are you gonna
the
do
Scourge
that?
of the Slave Lords? Somebody said, I'm just not comfortable with slavery.
Was it going to be the Scourge of the Care Bears?
Right. I mean, how do you alter the game to do that? Right. And so, people are going to say it comes down to, being sensitive and, careful of people at the table. Most of us know the people at our table, but also I just really have a very hard time believing that the bulk of game players, tabletop role-playing game players, are offended by some of the things that we are dealing with right now. That orcs are evil, that goblins are evil, vampires are evil. Are demons not evil? I mean, is that a thing?
I mean, people have a tendency to want to play a tiefling, so I guess They're trying to turn those into playable characters too. So
I always wondered,
just about everything.
Dungeons and Dragons originally started out, you're killing the dragons, right? I mean, if you're a dragonborn, do you then say you're offended by people wanting to kill a dragon because you're part dragon? I mean, the depth of having to reach into your back pocket to try to find a way to be offended. And, right now it seems like we have a real epidemic period that people want to be offended, right? They just want to be offended, right?
Well, this might be a bit controversial, but I mean, even on one of the recent D&D books, I saw like one of the player characters in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're in a game of Magic. I mean, there's no magic that would have given you the use of your legs.
Well, I mean, I guess the way again,
or some way to get around.
We've already said we have no issue how people, if you want to play the game, if you want to use the safety tools and you're having fun at your table, that's great. I just have a hard time believing this is the bulk of people at the table. I have had the privilege of playing with several veterans who suffered terrible injuries.
Well, I mean, I have a good friend that we've play tested with that has some learning disabilities.
Right. Well, I mean, I've you played with one of the games where I had a gentleman who was missing an arm because he lost it in Iraq. He didn't want to play a character that didn't have two arms. I mean, maybe there is someone who did, but ultimately, to me, right now, nobody. Well, I guess nobody's a strong word, but no one I know that I'm close to thinks badly of people who are disabled, right? Or thinks, oh God, that person's in a wheelchair. I don't.
But we're playing a fantasy game. Why would you come into a fantasy game and play a character with the same kind of disabilities you have in your real life?
Well, I mean,
I guess you have that option, but I mean,
well, and you do have the option, but I mean. There are so many other things. I mean, right now, I know, they're working on things like exoskeletons and the ability to re-stimulate, spinal cord injuries and people being able to be more upright and walk and have greater accessibility. So if you had that ability, you wouldn't do it. And that's the thing in a fantasy world is everyone has that ability to not deal with that. Do they want to play that? If they do, then that's great. And I don't have any issue with the people that have written rules to allow them, to do those things or whatever. But, to make it sort of mandatory, that everyone has to think that way, that's really the problem is we've created this idea that you only can think one way or you're not a good person. And that to me just doesn't track with what I think the greatest, amount of gamers are. I mean, most gamers, number one, understand that there are inherently evil races. There are inherently evil beings out there that you don't have to really wonder, is this somebody who's going to eat me?
I took my daughter-in-law to that I just brought over from the Philippines. I took her over to Garden of the Gods. And she's asking me on the way whether we're going to run into bears and mountain lions and stuff like that. Well, in her mind, if we were running into that'd be a pretty evil situation. She's like all freaked out. Oh, we're going to run into a bear. No, we're not going to run into a bear. Don't worry about that. I said, believe me, they're more afraid of us than we are of them. But still, I mean.
Well, I had when I went to law school, there was a guy in one of my classes that was from England. And he had never left England until he came to Wyoming, where I went to law school.
Yeah.
Right? And, he we do have bears and lions and things in Wyoming. And, he was
guess
talking
if it was a
to
grizzly,
me.
it'd be a little different situation. But.
Right. But he was talking to me. He's like, we got nothing like that in England. I'm like, really? And I didn't really think about it, right? But he's like, yeah, like a fox is the most scary thing you're gonna run to in England, right? And I'm like, really? I'm like, you don't have like any form of bear, you don't have anything like a mountain lion. He's like, oh no, we don't have any of that stuff. He's like, I don't know how you guys deal with this. I'm like, that's like,
we don't really have to deal with it that much.
no, but to us, it's not a big deal. I mean, I've had bears in my trash, right? Because we're in Colorado.
Yeah. I mean, I've been at Steamboat and we're going into a restaurant. And there's a bear like strolling right next to the door to the restaurant.
Well, I mean, I actually, I've lived in Colorado a long time. I actually had a mountain lion in my garage.
That's a little scary.
It was a little scary. But the truth is, much what you were saying, when I opened the garage door, he ran out.
Yeah.
He didn't attack me. He ran away.
No, he ran away. Yeah.
But, again, this, we're way off track.
I know.
About.
That's my fault.
No, but so much this doesn't make sense. I mean, how do you function in a game? And there's been, a lot of, sort of comical takes on it, but how do you function in a game where a player can shut you down and stop you every time you start talking about something that might be uncomfortable? And when, we've gone through all these stories, I mean, everything about Batman might make you uncomfortable. Everything, there's so much about Superman that could make you uncomfortable. Spartacus, Gladiator, the Slave Lord's adventures, the Tomb of Horrors. How do you get there? I mean, how do you actually have a story? Star Wars. I mean, Darth Vader, and then we basically redeem him, right? I mean, so that is an interesting story. But I mean, he's a bad guy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and for most of it, we go there. I also have always wondered, George Lucas claims he had all that written out ahead of time, and I don't know that I believe he did. Maybe. But I certainly don't know that he planned it going where it's gone.
No.
So
I mean, do you remember how when we first found out about the whole sign of
I thought it was a joke.
I saw it on like a joke, like somewhere on I think it was on Instagram, or it was on X or something like that, right?
Together.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty hilarious.
No, it was.
I mean, I forget who put out that video, but I mean, it was.
Oh, it was
comical
pretty
because
hilarious. It's sort of where I got what I was talking about. The dragon thing, where he's like, "Aren't we here to slay dragons?" And it's like, I'm offended by that. I'm a dragonborn, and it offends me that we would go slay a dragon. I mean, so it seems to me, you could easily wind up at a table where no one wants to do any of those things, and I don't believe that there are very many game masters who actually get graphic enough into, the details of the torture or, sexual assault or any of those things in order to really offend people. What it is sort of, this person's been kidnapped. They're taken by these evil people. Oh my God, what are they going to do to them? We better save them. I don't think the details of what is happening is anything that most game masters touch on.
Well, I mean, the dangerous part of this is they're writing the games like this, right? And so the organized play, when you get to like a convention or, that type of thing, I mean, how are they going to implement these types of things at a convention and still have a playable, fun game?
Well, I mean, we've spent so much time dealing with combat and making it much more engaging and fun, but are we reaching a world where there is no combat? Because that would, you've got to be
able to talk your way out of everything, right?
How do you have a game where at its core, right, we're talking about, combat, right? At its core of all of these games, you have to have the ability to attack and, frankly, to kill, right? And so the ultimate sin and the ultimate terrible thing, right, is killing something, right? So
does that mean that doesn't happen anymore?
No,
well, apparently in Daggerheart, you don't necessarily die. You could decide, I'm not going to die.
Well, that's true. But, one of the things I was thinking about is going back and thinking about a real simple example would be like chess, right? Okay, chess, right? And you get different characters, but you have a king, a queen, knights, and so they are pawns, right? And pawns we just sacrifice, right? Is that offensive?
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, I would think so.
And somebody they
Still a lot
win
of people
the game,
around the world that play chess, though, right?
But they win the game by killing the king. Well, does the king deserve that? I mean, is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy? Do we have to worry about that?
Well, it's black and white usually,
Well, but at the core of these games are, right, you're the good guys most of the time. I know there's evil campaigns and there's the bad guys. And they are played in a way to live that reality, right? Which is, I mean, what are any of these stories we've mentioned without a bad guy?
Yeah,
right?
it's really nothing.
We've probably beat that a little bit to death, but it really is something.
Do you know what runs really close to all of this that we've talked about? Is this whole thing online. I mean, you showed me that Reddit post that you got the other day of basically all you were doing is showing off our new book cover for Lethal Fantasy Games.
I put together a reel of the book cover, this cover by Brent Chumley. You see it all around
our
here.
artist.
We've kind of used it, very well-known fantasy artist.
He's written for a lot of different games. Heck, I mean, go back, look at our podcast. We interviewed him.
Right. Wizards of the Coast, he's out there, all the stuff, right? And he's amazing because his stuff looks, photorealistic almost. I mean, it looks very, very real, and that's why we
apparently on Reddit, though. I mean, these guys know what AI is compared to real art,
right? And that's the thing, the desire to be offended, right? So I post our cover, right, and then some of the interior art done by Brent, right?
Yeah, and then they accuse it of being AI.
The response is, that this. Well, let me get it, and we'll put it on the screen too. But the exact quote by some guy, Real Dwarf 67 on Reddit,
whoever
says,
the heck that is.
"Holy AI, absolutely disgusting cover art." Okay. The art of Lethal Fantasy, you can see behind us, and this cover, which we'll put up, is disgusting AI art. The offensive nature of that is that somebody presumed something, right, and accused a very well respected and real artist of doing something that's an AI art. We've even posted the original hand sketches of this art before he painted it and created it and put it out there as art. And to make that kind of an accusation on a public forum,
it's ridiculous.
People can, see the stuff. It's absolutely absurd.
And some of the responses to that post were even almost as.
But we had a great recommendation to make a Reddit troll, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. Because that guy would fit perfect for that role, right?
Even if I'll be a Reddit troll. I mean, it's to start making, and the AI brings up a whole lot of question within the role playing game world. I mean, there's questions: can it replace a game master?
No,
I don't think it. One of the things is that. How many times have you been running a game, especially if you're running it sort of off your hip, right? And, you've got this idea what the bad guy's going to do, but you listen to the players talking and they're like, what if he's doing this or what if he's doing that? And you go, that's a great idea.
Why don't I do that?
Right? So
let's change the plot right on the fly.
And you do it all the time. I mean, all game masters do that. They alter and change and adjust it a little bit to what the players are doing because ultimately – I'm not going to change, in a way that will make them I'm not going to change the monster and make them more deadly or whatever. Yeah. But if, sometimes they come up with a better story than I had in my head. And then that is that cooperative storytelling aspect of it. And I think AI as a game master has the ability to maybe make dice rolls if you want to do solo play. It has the ability to, what do I find in the next room? And it could come up with some kind of random description. but the ability to continue to track and also to keep a secret, right?
Yeah,
right.
it's
And
not
also to sort of change on the fly
Yeah.
what the actual story is, and to come up with a response from NPCs that tells a magnificent story. I mean, there are game masters that I suppose it could replace, because I've seen some game masters at conventions and stuff that it's like I go into room 4, okay, 3 orcs, roll initiative. Right. And then they go through it, and then okay, what's your treasure? Let's roll on our chart. And they roll on a chart. And that's
at that
it.
point, it might as well be AI.
Right. Well, and you've seen those guys.
Where's the creativity?
Right. There is no story there. And, that's the whole thing. We're talking about all the stuff about good, evil. You could bring in a question about whether something's evil if you wanted to in those kind of a situation. But there's nothing wrong with presuming that guy's evil.
No.
Right. I mean,
no.
And until.
Although, isn't he your buddy? He's staying over your shoulder.
I mean, that's. That is the difficulty.
Well, I mean, in all seriousness, I mean, AI has its place. I mean, frankly, it definitely is a big time saver when it comes to brainstorming.
Well,
some basic information.
I've used it in games just to
using
be
it to outline.
Well, you just
something you've already created.
I need a name for a wizard, that lives in a tower and is in a city of whatever. Because random names, everybody can't be named Bob.
Or
right?
Tim.
Right. Exactly. So, sometimes you need random names, to come up with things.
I mean, I've had to run a game like impromptu. I had an hour to prepare, and all I did was say, okay, here, I wrote out like 2,000 words. It actually took like a half hour for me to write the description. I said, I just want an outline. Can you take this whole premise of what I'm going to do, beginning and middle end, and with these creatures and that type of thing, and just give me a little outline. And I mean, that's not taking away the creativity of the story. It's not like writing the story for me.
No, and the truth is, all professions are doing this, right? They are.
Well, we have our own chat at my work that's exclusive to our company, and you have to do anything you're going to use. You're not allowed to use Chat GPT. You have to use their specific,
right?
For all company data, probably for obvious reasons.
Well, but I mean, you can take a paragraph, like I write, letters sometimes, right? And I can take and put them into a Chat GPT or other one, and it'll clean up my grammar. It doesn't change what I wrote, right? But it saves me time.
Yeah.
Right. And so, there is a place for all tools, I know, and for, just to be very clear, we were very offended when we were accused of using AI art, because we've never used AI art in any of our products. And that is not our intention.
I mean, we've used AI for promotional stuff on the internet.
Yeah, little simple,
but not
like, help me create usually it's incorporating.
We took like a photo of us and turned ourselves into like
caricatures, right? We said, make this a caricature, which was hilarious because we looked ridiculous. But we wanted to put that out, and it would have taken,
a month for somebody else to do it for us.
Draw it. Plus, we are spending our money to create real art for our books. And it's not cheap.
No,
right.
It's not cheap, and it's not.
And it's not like we're not spending a fair amount of money on artists and giving it to artists.
Our last batch of art that Brent just did for us, which really is like pretty amazing. I mean, it took him 4 months?
Yeah, we commissioned it. Yeah, it was 4 months. The cover that we're talking about took. I started that in August. I got it in January, so that was 5 months. It's and
he's working on 2 more covers for us,
right? And ultimately, when someone starts attacking a small company for using AI to create an ad, that is just an Instagram post.
It's not like we're WotC or something where we have all the budget from Hasbro.
Well, all that does is play into say the only games we want are from $1 million companies, right? You know,
Yeah.
it's very hard for a startup company to have the kind of ability to do that. So they have to use the tools they
Well,
got.
I mean, people like
We're
Wizards of the
fortunate-
Coast or Paizo, they have on staff artists that and they have thousands of images that they've collected over many years that they
and
use.
we're working on that, right? And
But
the
it
thing
takes
is,
time.
well, and we have a very I truthfully believe we have a higher standard than WotC or Paizo for who we've allowed to draw for us.
Yeah,
because,
that's true.
I mean,
We have 3 artists that we've currently commissioned to do pieces for us.
right. I mean,
one
Brent
that's specifically
is up
doing
front,
monsters.
two more that we're working with now, and you know, they won't look like cartoons. We're not throwing cartoon art out there, and we are paying artists to do everything in our books. And so, you know, to be accused of that and have that thrown out, you know,
It's a slap in the
chat,
face.
oh, it's a slap in the face, and it's a slap in the face of the artists that are actually doing it. They think they're defending artists when they're really not. And
I mean, the sad part is that I mean, the dangerous part, and I think what's offending everybody is the fact that AI does go and scrape the internet for images and does take images from people and
which is why we'll never use it, you know, in a way that, you know, is going to go into our books. I mean, you know, I took it. If you've seen what we did recently, I mean, the whole thing with Sydney Sweeney and her jeans thing. I took Torin, our mascot, right?
yeah,
And
which
I
we
told-
did pay for somebody to design.
Right, which we paid and had it designed and said, put him in jeans laying on his side, right? And, you know, I put that out as a comical post, right? Because it was very specific to the time. Or I could have commissioned it and it would have been next month before I had it. And it just would not have been effective in an effective use of time. You know, do I want to use that in any kind of a product? We're not going to do that, right? And we are committed to using real artists. And I don't think that AR really can replace real artists because, I mean,
well, I mean, look, half of them you can't even see real fingers. I mean,
or they have 8 fingers,
Yeah,
3
I mean,
arms,
it's-
and, you know, an extra eye.
I think we're a little ways from you know, it being able to you know, do exactly what an artist could do.
Well, and you know, when we have our art done, we're very specific. We want it to do this. We want it to do that.
Yeah.
But you know, this clown that accused us of using AI art, you know, he wasn't that isn't the only time we've heard it. I mean, the truth is, you know, again, Brent is so good
Yeah.
that he draws fire because people are like, well, people can't draw that good.
Well, didn't we have somebody on our Discord channel that was basically accusing us of our artist of using AI?
yeah. Yeah.
He even ran it through an analyzer. Oh, it's 95% chance it's AI.
His analyzer
like whatever
said that our cover was 95% chance AI.
Yeah.
And we have proof it's not.
Yeah.
And you know, that makes me wonder where these analyzers are coming from because it's probably AI.
It is.
The funny thing was the same person, you know, then sent me how he thought our cover should look.
And it was generated
And
by
it
AI.
was AI generated. Right?
Actually, what was funny is that when he generated it, it was generated basically off of Brent's original sketch.
Right, he stole Brent's sketch.
That was on
I
somewhere
sent
on
him
the
a
internet.
copy of we posted on our Discord a copy of the hand one showing people that this evolved from a hand-drawn sketch and moved up through art and showed how Brent had changed it over time. We did that was in the episode we did as well. He took that and used AI to alter it to tell us how we should do our cover. That, you know, and that those are the people criticizing, you know, using AI in any way. And I've seen, you know, some games that have actually had 2 versions. One is no images at all, and one where they used AI art, because the truth is, you know, if you're a very small game creator, and you have no ability to pay artists what they're worth,
and you have no artistic ability to do it yourself.
You know, some of these folks are trying to create something with their mind, and they are trying to make it a sellable product. Young people that, we've had the advantage that we're not 18, right? We are, professionals that have been fairly successful. So we've been able to throw some money at this thing to create this.
But you know what? The reality is most of your average players out there have no idea what's involved in the creation, editing, art, printing. I mean, the whole process of layout.
We've talked about it a little bit. I mean, the amount.
It's incredibly expensive.
Right now, especially since we're making the box set, we're in the essence of creating 2 edited versions of our game. One is the complete version, and one is the scaled down version that'll go in the starter set. Editing is, it's
a long process.
It's a long process,
and it's expensive.
It's incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
So,
pay by the word.
Yeah. Pay by the, And so, we're paying a human being to do that. We ain't using, Chat GPT to do that. And I almost feel like I'm defending myself, which I don't like, because we haven't done any of these things. And it's frustrating. But just like, and that's where we're coming into this thing. Just like people are so offended by, savage orcs or the evil goblins, those kind of things, or the use of the word madness, they're creating this furor that I think 99% of gamers do not feel. No. And the same thing with AI art. There are some people that just virtue signal that they want to find it, right? So we're making a new game. We're a smaller company. They see our cover and they immediately jump to, oh, it must be AI art. The funny thing is when he did that, it was actually in a post that said art by Brent Chumley.
Yeah.
And
did he even look up Brent's artwork?
No. I'm sure he didn't, but that's the thing.
Just the assumption. But that's why you don't post a whole lot on Reddit, because it's like...
I quit posting on Reddit because Reddit is the home of the trolls.
And the Reddit trolls.
The Reddit trolls.
I swear we really need to put them in the monster book. We've definitely got to do it. It's got to look just like that Reddit head, the Reddit symbol.
Right, because it is unbelievable that, all the posts and all the positive feedback we get everywhere, I would say 99% of any negative thing we've got is on Reddit. Because, it's like people just sit there all day long for something to say. Yeah. And, the scary thing about, all of this stuff is, people... if there's one thing that is the worst about the internet is people talk to people nowadays through the internet, and I think it even bleeds over into the real world a little bit, but people never would talk to people like that in face to face. And I think that was a good thing. And now
I think so.
You can sit behind your keyboard and attack somebody who's trying to create anything. And the post that we're talking about, that is on the the TTRPG indie creators page, right? For people that are trying to promote small company games, and they're on there attacking falsely companies trying to put out products.
Well, we can certainly put it out to the audience and say, have you ever used AI art or AI, of anything for your gameplay? Right. Would you be willing to if you haven't even tried?
Well, so many, I know, when I lay out my worlds in my adventures, I've always used Scabbard, which is a system that, you can organize everything. And it's used versions of AI to help you write things, come up with names, answer those kind of things. So there's a lot of tools out there, you see on Kickstarter. Yeah. They're out there. It is a helper. Right?
Let's face it. We want to run a great game as a game master, especially if you have very little or no experience, or maybe your depth of your imagination and coming up with new things is a little lacking, and you want a little help. These things can certainly help. It's there to help you be better at running your game or doing your
Yeah,
You know?
I think a discussion
make it
would
more
be
fun.
fantastic. Like you said, make some comments. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you think. How many of you are truthfully, offended by, evil orcs, evil goblins? The word madness.
I'd be curious. I mean, I know I've read plenty of comments about people who aren't offended by the whole thing, and great. If that's your game, go ahead. I mean, if you want all your characters to be basically the same little cookie cutter, characters, that's fine. That's your game. I mean, if you want to play My Little Pony, go play My Little Pony.
Right. I mean, if you're having fun, that's great. You've run a ton of games openly and publicly. So have I.
Oh, yeah.
Conventions. Have you ever met the gamer that is offended by these terms? Have you ever said some evil goblins run down and somebody literally was like, oh,
no.
What are they evil? I mean, has that ever happened?
The only time I've ever had a problem is when somebody starts getting political at the table and then one other person says, hey, stop it.
Right. But again, that isn't about
that has
the goblins.
nothing to do with the game.
That's got to do with our real world politics.
Exactly.
Right? Who the president is, whether you like him, whether you don't like him.
And I guarantee I've played plenty of great games and love to play games with people that absolutely do not agree with me politically and vice versa.
And that's what makes America great, right? We're allowed to disagree. And I have a lot of friends that don't agree with me politically. And I'm not even going to tell you what political intent I am.
No,
because
doesn't
it
really
doesn't matter to anyone.
Yeah.
Right? And it shouldn't matter. We all should be allowed to disagree. And that's the thing right now is realistically, I mean, I'm not saying you can't have a game that says goblins are all potentially, good or evil. They're just like other people. Or you can't run a game that, says that, all races or species are equal. And, a 20-pound gnome can be just as powerful as a 400-pound Goliath. But what it seems to me is, and I know we're getting back into this a little bit, is the opposite is not true, right?
Yeah.
This sort of gatekeeping has sort of spun itself completely around to where now, if you run a game with evil goblins, right, that's not okay, right? That's what that side says. Whereas I think both sides are okay. We don't get to decide what it is. I can tell you, as we've said before, in Lethal Fantasy, goblins are evil, right? Orcs are evil. Trolls are going to eat you. Could there be a aberration? Sure, that's a great story.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if in Dungeons and Dragons a rainbow trout's can be equal to a shark, I think.
Well, that is sort of what we're talking about, right? It sort of is where we're going with this, right? The goldfish, might feel offended, or
that they
killer
don't have
whale,
the teeth of a shark,
right? Yeah, they are. That is offensive, isn't it?
It's offensive.
You mean I can't have teeth? So
anyway, we'll probably have an image of that goldfish with shark teeth. I mean,
sweet.
Hey, maybe you should even use AI to produce it.
Well, if I commissioned an artist, I'll have to wait, months for this to come out.
Yeah,
right?
We're not going to wait a month to put our podcast up. Sorry.
No, that's the other thing. But it's not going to go in a book, right?
No.
If we need a goldfish with teeth, we'll get an artist.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
it's in our book, and that's that's what it gets at.
The book's more than a month out.
Throw everything you got at us. Let us know. Let's have a real discussion. We're still looking to have a real question and answer. A live session both on Discord and here on YouTube. Tell us what you think about Daggerheart and the fact that they apparently can't tell the story they want to tell with Daggerheart. And why do you think they say that? And does that make any sense? And isn't that a little concerning?
Yeah.
So let us know what you think.
Yeah. But we look forward to your comments, and join us on Discord. Join us online. I mean, we'll let Torrin kind of take it away with the rest of those plugs, but
let's get to it.
Yeah.
See you guys. See you next time.
See you next time.
Thank you for joining us for the Lethal Dispatch. We value your feedback and comments. Please like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss updates on the Lethal Fantasy tabletop role-playing game. Join us on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok. Join our Discord channel to chat directly with Lethal Ted and Lethal Eddie and find out what comes next. Lethal Fantasy, the evolution of the tabletop experience.